Midnight, a photo suddenly appeared in the residence group chat. A rat had been smashed flat by a chair, its body twitching on the floor. Wong Xiao Wong, can't you control this place at all? My girlfriend's crying from fear over here. Wait a second, don't you think this rat is way too big? What's so strange about that? The rats in Guangdong wet markets are even bigger than house slippers. The group chat instantly exploded with messages, everyone talking over each other. Right then, apartment 601 sent a voice message. Man, Manager Wong, outside my balcony, there are rats everywhere. So many of them. Their eyes are all red. My heart skipped a beat, because right above my ceiling, strange scratching noises had started echoing. I jerked my head up to stare at the ceiling, my throat tightening. At first, it was only faint scratching, like fingernails scraping against wood. But very quickly, the sound turned horrifying, as though something wet and slimy was rubbing together. And then suddenly, bang! A heavy crash rang out, like something extremely massive had slammed onto the floor. My whole body froze. Apartment 601 was directly above mine. A terrifying thought shot through my mind. Could something have happened to her? My trembling fingers hurriedly typed into the group chat. I think something happened in apartment 601. There were really strange noises coming from upstairs. Apartment 302 replied immediately. Oh, please, apartment 601 is noisy every night. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? Apartment 403 chimed in. She's a dance streamer, isn't she? Maybe she's just performing for some rich viewers. This old apartment building has terrible soundproofing anyway. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening. No one believed me. I quickly typed again. Didn't you hear her voice message? She said there were rats outside her balcony. The moment the message was sent, the group chat suddenly fell silent for several seconds. What voice message? Apartment 601 never sent any voice message. I immediately scrolled back through the chat history. My finger froze. On the screen, there was only a gray system notification. Apartment 601 has recalled a message. A chill crawled down my spine. Why would she delete it? Her voice had clearly sounded abnormal. I held my breath and listened carefully. But upstairs it now become terrifyingly quiet, as if nothing had ever happened. Then, Apartment 601 sent another message into the group chat. Sorry everyone, my cat accidentally knocked over a flower vase just now. Apartment 201 immediately replied. See? You were overthinking it, girl. I stared blankly at my phone screen. A cat? I'd lived here for 2 years and had never once heard that Apartment 601 owned a cat. Besides, there was no way those sounds could have been made by a cat. My finger hovered over the emergency number, but I couldn't bring myself to press call. What if I was just scaring myself? Right then, my phone vibrated. A friend request popped up. It was from Apartment 503, directly across from me. The verification message only contained one sentence. I heard that voice message too. The moment I accepted, messages from her came flooding in. Sis, something definitely happened to Apartment 601. I heard the voice message too. She works as a streamer at the same company as me, and she's severely allergic to cat fur. There's no way she can own a cat. Sis, what exactly did you hear upstairs? My heart tightened. So I wasn't the only one who found this strange. I quickly told her everything I had heard. But the instant I hit send, a horrifying thought suddenly surfaced in my mind, making my entire body go cold. If that voice message was real, if the noises upstairs were real too, then the one currently holding apartment 601's phone, pretending to be her while texting us, who was it? Or rather, what was it? My phone suddenly vibrated again. Apartment 503 was calling me. I answered almost instinctively. Hello? What happened? Do you hear that? Someone's knocking on my door. No, not someone. It sounded like something is outside, knocking. I held my breath and pressed the phone tightly against my ear. Even through the door and over the phone, the sound came through clearly, heavy, though it didn't sound like knocking with hands. It sounded more like something was slamming its entire body against the door. I hear it. What is that? I don't know. I checked through the peephole, but I can't see anything. Sis, please help me. From your side, can you see my door? Please look and tell me what's out there. The repeated banging sent icy chills down my spine. I gritted my teeth. Okay, don't hang up. I cautiously crept toward my front door. All kinds of horrifying images flashed through my mind. But just as I reached the door, click, the entire building suddenly lost power. Everything was swallowed by thick darkness. My eyes couldn't adjust in time. All I could see was pitch black. Hello? Hello? I can't see anything. Panic crept into my voice. The call screen froze for a few seconds before abruptly disconnecting. The surroundings immediately sank into a deathly silence. And because of that, the banging in the hallway became even clearer. Only then did I realize, if the power was out, then the Wi-Fi was gone too. Panicking, I switched to mobile data and called apartment 503 back. But all I heard was endless ringing. No one answered. Suddenly, the banging outside stopped completely. An overwhelming sense of dread rose inside me. I immediately sent her a message on WeChat. Don't open the door. Whatever happens, don't open it. Meanwhile, the residence group chat had completely exploded. What the hell? The power's out in this heat. It's 38 degrees outside. Where's Manager Wong? The soccer game just started. At Wong Xiao Wong, where the hell are you? We've called you 100 times already. Amid the flood of angry complaints, the property management finally appeared. We sincerely apologize to all residents. Emergency maintenance staff have been dispatched, and power will be restored as soon as possible. Please remain calm and wait patiently. But that explanation only made everyone even angrier. How long is as soon as possible? What are we even paying management fees for? Apartment 302 angrily added. Send someone to deal with the rats in my apartment already. This is disgusting. I stared at the words, rats in my apartment. My blood ran cold. Right then, my phone violently vibrated. Apartment 503 was calling back. I answered immediately. Hello, rats. They're everywhere. Save me. A blood-curdling scream exploded through the phone. Right after that came a horrifying sound, dense and overwhelming like a tidal wave. Mixed within it was a nauseating sound of chewing. My scalp instantly went numb. Hello, hello. Cold sweat soaked through my back. The rats. It had to be the rats. They had attacked apartment 503. My mind uncontrollably filled with gruesome images of blood and flesh. But I didn't dare open my door. I couldn't save her. I didn't even dare step outside my own apartment. Trembling, I dialed emergency services. At last, the call connected. Help! There are rats everywhere in our apartment building. They're attacking people. Apartment 503 has been attacked. I sounded completely hysterical. Thankfully, the operator didn't hang up. Please stay calm. Find somewhere safe to hide first. Officers are on their way as quickly as possible. Only after hearing the words, as quickly as possible, did I finally feel like I could breathe again. But the moment the call ended, a faint sound of a door opening echoed through the hallway. My heart nearly leapt into my throat. I rushed to the peephole. Using the dim emergency lighting outside, I barely managed to see. Apartment 503's door was slightly open. A sticky black trail stretched outward from the doorway. I whispered. Blood, both of my temples throbbed violently. Everything that had happened tonight suddenly connected into one horrifying truth. Those rats weren't just gigantic. They hunted people, and they might even be intelligent enough to imitate humans. If that was true, then the next target, would it be me? I bit my lip and practically crawled into the kitchen and bathroom, frantically stuffing every gap I could find with furniture and towels. The drain pipes, the window gaps, the space behind the toilet. Anywhere a rat could squeeze through. Sweat dripped into my eyes, stinging painfully. After sealing the final crack, I clutched the broom tightly for protection and collapsed onto the floor, leaning against the door while gasping for breath. My phone kept vibrating nonstop. Some people in the group chat were still sending laughing emojis and joking around. Grinding my teeth, I typed as fast as I could. Listen to me. These are not normal rats. They're giant rats that attack people. They may even be intelligent. Something definitely happened to apartment 503. Seal your doors and every gap in your apartments immediately. Do not open the door. I already called the police. Everyone, seal your windows and doors now. Hurry. The user wants the full translation of a very long copyrighted text they provided. Transformative translation of user-provided content is allowed. Need continue from where left off. Likely due token limits. We should apologize briefly and continue seamlessly. No need repeat. I kept sending message after message, adding more than 20 exclamation marks just to show how serious this was. But the moment my messages appeared, the group chat fell into a strange silence for several seconds. Then, one mocking reply after another began popping up. Are you insane? Have you been watching too many sci-fi movies? Intelligent rats? That's honestly hilarious. Oh, come on. It's an old apartment building. A few rats running around is totally normal. Probably just a coincidence. Though, honestly, there do seem to be a lot of rats around here. Calm down, little sister. Did you scare yourself into imagining things? No matter how big a rat is, it's still just a rat. Their words stabbed into my mind like needles. I clenched my phone tightly, my chest tightening with dread. Right then, Manager Wong from the property management office sent out an emergency notice. Emergency notice to all residents. After an initial inspection, maintenance staff discovered severe animal damage near the electrical distribution box. The wiring system has been heavily destroyed. The repair team is currently carrying out emergency repairs. All residents are advised to keep doors and windows tightly shut and avoid going outside. Additional personnel have already been deployed, and outside support has been requested. In an instant, the entire group chat sank into deathly silence. Holy shit, they chewed to the power cables. Wait a minute. The dead rat outside my door earlier is gone. How did it disappear? There's only a puddle of blood left on the floor. So what you said was actually true? I think I hear something outside my door too, really faint, like something crawling. Oh my god, my cat's fur is standing on end. It keeps growling at the door. There's definitely something outside. Panic spread to the group chat like a contagious disease. My warnings have been proven true in the most horrifying way possible, and just as the atmosphere of despair reached its peak, a horrifying sound suddenly came from the ceiling above my head. Crack, crack, crack. It sounded like thousands of razor-sharp teeth furiously gnawing to the wooden floor upstairs. The sound was getting closer, clearer. They were coming down. The overwhelming terror shattered my sanity completely. If I stayed here, I would die. I had to run. Better to risk everything than be eaten alive. Driven by pure survival instinct, I jumped to my feet, grabbed the broom beside me, and rushed toward the door. I yanked the reinforced door open. A freezing gust of wind immediately rushed into my face. Eyes wide open, I braced myself for a swarm of rats to leap at me at any moment. But the sight outside froze me in place. Someone was standing outside apartment 503 across the hall. It was a girl from apartment 503. She wore a light-colored nightgown stained with dark blotches. Her back faced me as she stood motionless in front of her apartment door, but her body was twitching unnaturally. "Hey, are you okay?" I stood frozen, gripping the broom tightly. No response. My gaze slowly drifted downward. The hem of her nightgown was soaked, and droplets of liquid were dripping onto the floor. That color, it didn't look like water. The moment that thought crossed my mind, her body suddenly jerked violently. Then slowly, very slowly, it bent backward at a grotesque angle no human body should be capable of. She turned around. Moonlight illuminated half of her pale face. Her eyes were wide open and empty. The corners of her mouth stretched upward into a twisted, horrifying smile. A freezing chill shot from the soles of my feet straight to the top of my head. She's not human anymore. My mind went blank. Every instinct screamed at me to run. I hurled the broom at her and turned, sprinting straight down the stairs. What the hell is that thing? My footsteps echoed wildly through the empty emergency stairwell. Around me, screams continuously rang out from every direction. I didn't dare look back, because I knew that thing was still chasing me. The exit, I was almost there. I slammed my entire body into the building's front entrance on the first floor. Bang! Pain exploded through my shoulder, but the door didn't budge at all. Then, clang, clang, the metallic rattled chains echoed coldly. The door's locked on the outside. I pounded frantically against the door until my palms went numb. Damn it! Who locked this door? Right then, a horrifying, raspy breathing sound came from behind me. I spun around in terror. Within the dim darkness, shadowy figures staggered forward one by one. Apartment 503, Apartment 601, the couple from Apartment 302. All of them were neighbors I recognized. But now, they looked exactly like soulless walking corpses slowly closing in on me. My body reacted before my brain could. I practically crawled to Apartment 102 nearest the stairs and started pounding on the door desperately. "Open the door! Please save me! There are monsters outside." My voice had already gone hoarse. Apartment 102 belonged to an elderly couple who lived alone. Normally, they almost never came outside, but right now, they were my only hope. Finally, click, a faint unlocking sound came from inside. An agent, I cautiously peered through the peephole. Before they could react, I immediately squeezed inside, slammed the door shut with all my strength, and locked every bolt I could. Almost the instant the door closed. Bang, bang, bang. Violent pounding immediately erupted outside. Panicking, I dragged the shoe cabinet against the door to barricade it. Only then did I realize my legs were trembling uncontrollably. I had no idea how much time passed. Eventually, the pounding slowly turned into scratching noises. Then finally, silence. Only then did I realize I was temporarily safe. My legs gave out completely. I slid down against the door and collapsed on the floor, gasping for breath. "Child, are you alright? What exactly happened out there?" I looked up. Standing before me was Grandma Wong, her white hair framing a face full of worry. Beside her stood Old Man Lee, leaning on a cane with a grim expression. They turned into monsters. Suppressing my trembling, I recounted everything that had happened upstairs as quickly as possible. Old Man Lee's expression grew darker and darker. The hand gripping his cane trembled slightly. Was those giant rats? Yes. Why know about them? Old Man Lee let out a heavy sigh. Karma, it finally came back. The truth buried for 30 years can't stay hidden anymore. That was when I learned what had happened 30 years ago. Girl, my wife, and I were among the first residents to move here. 30 years ago, I helped dig the foundation for this apartment complex. Back then, just having work was already a blessing. But while digging the foundation, we discovered countless tunnels underground, intertwined like a spiderweb. At first, we only saw a few rats, so nobody paid attention. Construction sites always have rats. But later, his voice began trembling. Those rats weren't normal. They were enormous. Gray-black fur, eyes glowing red like burning coals in the dark. They weren't afraid of people at all. The moment they saw someone, they attacked. One worker named Little Sichuan got bitten on the leg. The wound instantly swelled up like a steam bun. He rolled around on the ground screaming in pain. Less than 2 days later, he went insane, clawing and biting at everyone around him. Several others were bitten until their flesh was torn apart. Beside him, Grandma Wong quietly wiped away tears. Clearly, she too had remembered the horrifying events of that year. The foreman got terrified and reported it to upper management. Then the investor himself came personally, bringing several men in black suits. They took all those people away. After that, I never saw them again. Hearing that, my heart tightened painfully. Then where were they taken? Old Man Lee only shook his head. Fear and confusion filled his aged face. Nobody knew, and nobody dared ask. Afterward, they gathered all the workers together and warned us that not a single word about this could ever get out. Anyone who talked would lose every cent of their wages and get dragged into court. Old Man Lee clenched his fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. They forced us to keep working, ordered us to pour cement into those tunnels as quickly as possible. Black cement, truck after truck, dumped straight down into the holes. And while we were pouring it, we could still hear the rats squealing underneath. Back then, I was terrified. His eyes turned red as he spoke. I was afraid of losing my job, afraid of being sued, but even more afraid that those things would crawl out from whatever tunnels weren't sealed completely. But we were just laborers. What could we possibly do? In the end, we obeyed them. And that's how this apartment complex was built. Old Man Lee sighed softly. Later, the investor even approached me personally. He gestured around the room. He offered to sell me this first floor apartment at an internal discount. He also hinted that I should stay here and keep an eye on things. At the time, greed clouded my judgment. I thought I'd gotten the deal of a lifetime, and I kept telling myself, with that much cement poured in, nothing could possibly happen anymore. So I brought my wife here to live. Old Manley lowered his head bitterly. I heard the investor who ordered the tunnel sealed with cement died from a serious illness only a few years later. No matter how much money a person has, they can't take it to the grave. But blood debts always remain beneath this land. He fell silent for several seconds before continuing. For the first few years after moving here, I had nightmares every night. I constantly heard scratching sounds coming from inside the walls. But gradually, the noises stopped. Eventually I relaxed and thought everything had truly ended. His trembling voice was filled with regret and fear. His eyes remained fixed on the front door. But I never expected they would come back. And even worse than before, what's happening tonight is karma for what we did back then. So this apartment complex had been built atop such a bloody secret? Karma. This really is karma. My hands trembled uncontrollably, looking at the elderly couple before me, their faces filled with terror and regret. I couldn't even tell what I was feeling anymore. But everything was peaceful for 30 years. Why now? Why did it have to happen now? Suddenly, I remembered the chain front entrance downstairs was an accident, or had someone done it intentionally? Wait, something wasn't right. Where were the police? It had already been far too long since I called them. No matter how remote this area was, they should have arrived by now. Almost simultaneously, wild scratching and gnawing sounds erupted from the ceiling again. Chunks of plaster and with debris rained down nonstop. There they're coming through the window. I immediately rushed toward the largest window in the room like a madwoman. This was our only way out. But the instant my hands touched the metal security bars, my heart sank into despair. The old-fashioned iron bars were unbelievably sturdy. Without proper tools, there was absolutely no way to break them open barehanded. Hopelessness swallowed me whole. It's over. Are we really going to die here? Right then, bang, bang. Violent pounding suddenly came from outside the window. Two powerful flashlight beams shone directly into the room. People inside, get to the window now, were police officers. The police had arrived. One officer used a crowbar to pry at the bars, while the other kept watch with a flashlight. Their faces were drenched in sweat. Clearly, it had taken tremendous effort just to reach us. These bars are unbelievably strong. The officer gritted his teeth and pushed with all his strength. The crowbar screeched against metal. Screech. Finally, the bars bent open just enough for one person to squeeze through. I turned back to look behind me. The front door was shaking violently, as though it could burst open at any second. And above us, the hole the rats had chewed through the ceiling was getting larger and larger, with dust that already covered my hair. Hurry, one at a time, get out. The officer reached his hand through the opening. Grandma, you go first. I immediately grabbed Grandma Wong's hand and, together with police, helped pull her through the window. Then I turned back. Grandpa, your turn. But Old Manley pushed my hand away. The wrinkled face before me was strangely calm. There was even a sense of peace to it, as though he had already accepted everything. He stared at Grandma Wong outside the window for a long time, then looked at me. You need to leave. His voice thundered through the room, overpowering both the pounding on the door and the gnawing from above. Grandpa, come with us. Panicking, I reached for him again, but he stepped back. No need. I'm old. I can't run anymore. He pointed toward the violently shaking ceiling, then toward the front door that was about to collapse. Finally, he placed a hand over his chest. This building is a sin we created. I've guarded it for 30 years. Today, let me end it. Otherwise, those things might escape and kill even more people. Before he even finished speaking, he suddenly shoved me outside. Bang! He slammed the window shut, then locked it from the inside. Old man, please come out. Grandma Wong's cries were heartbreaking. Sir, open the window. The police desperately smashed at the bars with a crowbar, but it was useless. In the end, they could only drag us farther back. From inside the apartment came the old man's furious roar. You filthy beasts. This old man's waiting right here. If you got guts, come at me. Grandpa. Ladies and gentlemen, we now bring you an update regarding the extremely serious incident that occurred at Taijing apartment complex. According to preliminary investigations, the case involving rats attacking residents and explosion within the residential complex has reached a major breakthrough. Police have officially classified the incident as premeditated murder and endangerment of public safety through the use of biological means. The suspect, Wong Kai, male, 32 years old, formerly employed as a property manager at the apartment complex, has now been arrested. What shocked investigators most was the motive behind Wong Kai's crimes, which allegedly stemmed from his desire to expose a construction accident that had been covered up for 30 years. Those rats were intentionally released by you, weren't they? You were also the one impersonating apartment 601 in the group chat, and you locked the main entrance downstairs too, didn't you? Yes, I did all of it. Did you really think that apartment complex was their home? No, it was a cage built to trap them. They deserved it. You have no idea how disgusting those people truly were. Why would you do something like this? Do you realize how many innocent people died because of you? Innocent? Who's innocent? Was my father not innocent? 30 years ago, they buried my father alive beneath that underground pit. They stood there and watched him turn into a monster without doing a damn thing. Why should those investors get rich and live happily ever after? I only wanted the truth dragged into the light. I wanted to destroy that cursed apartment complex completely.